And the NYPD, of course, has been busy enforcing social distancing regulations as a result. Officers handed out close to 90 summonses this past weekend, as we mentioned a little earlier, and also made a handful of arrests, including one violent arrest that was caught on camera and has a lot of people talking about it. Well, Police Commissioner Dermot Shea joining us on the phone to talk about a little of everything tonight. Commissioner, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Tamsen.
Hey, I want to start off talking about the social distancing enforcement. We heard 90 summonses so far. I know you guys are doing the summonses, arrests, tickets. Talk a little bit about what happened over the weekend.
So I think we were expecting and came to fruition. You know, we had large groups of New Yorkers pent up for 2 months, and a lot of them came out to enjoy the fine weather this weekend. We had officers spread out in every borough, working with many other city agencies, continuing to educate people, trying to get compliance through warning people, just practicing safe policy in terms of spreading out, making sure that masks are being worn. I can tell you that we handed out thousands of masks over the weekend just from the PD. And I would say that, you know, for the last 2 months, we've gotten overwhelming compliance. We've had a couple incidents that resulted in, you know, some arrests, but overwhelmingly, people are on board. People are, you know, supporting the healthcare workers, supporting the frontline workers that are out there. But this weekend, was there, as you said, I think 50-something summonses on Saturday, 20-something on Sunday was my count. I could be a little off. We just asked for a little more patience in terms of working with us, spreading out when you're in these parks. I know that everyone has a little bit of cabin fever, as we all do at this point, and we want to get out and get some exercise, but we also want to make sure people are safe, and we don't want to go backwards, and that's the big challenge right now.
Yeah, absolutely. None of us want to do that because we don't want to be inside that much longer. Let's talk about one of those arrests, though, on the Lower East Side. Of course, it's getting a lot of criticism tonight. I know you can't discuss the specifics of the investigation, but can you give us your take on that video? We saw it a little bit earlier in our newscast. We'll play it again now, but can I just get your take on that? Because I know it's something that you all are focused on right now and dealing with.
Yeah, and I mentioned in this morning's call, I got to get this point out. You know, just this weekend, we had, I think the number is 17 separate incidents where we're encountering people and took guns off people on the streets of New York, and really with no force used. But in any large city, unfortunately, you know, this incident is not something that looks good. When you break it down, from my view, you had 2 incidents within one here. You had an initial encounter where there's 2 arrests made, a male and a female. And then spinning out from that, what you see is, what everyone is viewing, I'm sure, from this video, is that one of the officers then walks towards an individual on the corner and winds up taking him to the ground and placing him under arrest. That was brought to our attention over the weekend. We took a quick look at it. Internal Affairs is reviewing that incident and has the investigation now as we continue to get all the details from this entire incident, including, you're seeing one camera, but there are multiple videos of the entire incident. That's what I alluded to this morning.
Right. The
actions of the one officer that moves towards the corner and takes that person to the ground. That's what caught my eye in terms of tactics, in terms of the force used. That officer was placed on modified duty, and the investigation, which means that he was taken off the street, removed of his gun, and the investigation is moving forward now.
And when we see that officer kneeling, though, on that person's head, obviously that reminds us all in this city of something else. So it does get a lot of criticism. What happens from here on out? He's on modified duty, and where do we go from here?
So there's a number of people that have to be interviewed on the police side, as well as additional video.
Okay.
Recovered, and then also on the civilian side. So everyone, just before, you know, all the facts are learned. We have all the facts of the case, and then we'll decide what the appropriate outcome should be.
One more quick question, because I know I saw a lot of your officers out over the weekend. I was in Central Park. I saw a lot of people out there. The numbers came out, crime numbers for the month of April. Murder up, auto theft up 60%, burglaries up 32% compared to last April. What do you attribute those numbers to?
Well, I think it's, in my former life running the ComStat, there's always stories behind the numbers here. I mean, those, especially the burglaries and the stolen cars, when you think of people cooped up all the time, those make some sense. The residential burglaries obviously are down. Everyone is home. The commercial burglaries, we've been talking about that for a while, with the stores closed, with the restaurants closed. Unfortunately, some criminals taking advantage of the situation. I would caution anyone for the last 8 weeks to draw too many conclusions from the declining crime rate. Not surprising to us, the overall crime is down. It's hard to have crime when you take a look at the subways, 95% ridership down. It's a little harder to commit some of the traditional crimes that normally would be committed when the nightclubs are closed, when the restaurants are closed. So I made a statement last week. My concern is we got to get through this time right now. We got to get all New Yorkers with us, get back to work, get the city opened up as soon as that's possible and safe. And then we're going to have to deal with coming out of that. We'll have the new normal, if you will, in terms of what the crime picture looks like at that time. But I tell you, the men and women of the New York City Police Department are still at work fighting crime. From the civilians in the lab, the analysts, we have analysts working from home. I couldn't be more proud of them. And then on the patrol side and the detective side, whether it's seizing motorbikes or dirt bikes, which we are seizing a lot the last couple weekends in response to community complaints, in taking violent gang members off the street. So all that traditional work is still going on. It's interesting times, and we're working a little differently with our partners on the prosecution side, but we are here to keep New Yorkers safe.
I know. I want to ask you one quick question about the subways, though. You're also patrolling the subways right now, and we only have a little bit, but how are you guys handling that?
So we're working the ridership down. What we saw is what New Yorkers saw. We saw an influx of homeless individuals riding the train. I think we all could agree that we had to do a little better there in terms of outreach, in terms of trying to place some of these individuals that are down on their luck into shelters. We're doing a lot of work with that. We've also been working very closely with the MTA. Sarah Feinberg and myself have spoken a number of times, including this morning, and just trying to develop the best possible system between us in terms of efficiency for when this new process comes onto play of shutting the subways down overnight, so that when we are ready to come back to normal, and it's going to be soon, when we're ready to come back to normal, we have that subway system, which really I think is the lifeblood of New York City.
It is, sir.
Operating clean and ready to go.
It is. Commissioner Shea, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it, and you're welcome back anytime. We always like to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.